There is a moment in every life, a single fleeting instant where the path forward diverges. It doesn't arrive with a thunderclap or a flashing sign. It arrives quietly, often disguised as a simple choice. A choice between comfort and the unknown, between staying as you are and becoming who you could be. Most people stand at this crossroads, and they don't even realize it. They feel the pull. They feel the gentle nudge of destiny. But they talk themselves out of it. They turn back, and they spend the rest of their lives wondering why something always feels missing. But for a rare few, everything changes in that moment. Because they make a decision so final, so absolute, that the universe itself must rearrange to accommodate it. Tonight, we are going to talk about that decision. We are going to sit quietly and examine the one choice, the one mental act that separates the average from the extraordinary. The one decision that, if you make it and mean it, will make you rich in ways you cannot yet imagine. Listen closely. Let's sit with this for a moment. Let's look at where most people live, truly live, for the majority of their years. They live in a place that isn't really a place at all. It's a condition. It's a state of being. It's a quiet, comfortable, and utterly deceptive fog called someday. Someday, I'll start that project. Someday, I'll speak my mind. Someday, I'll speak my mind. Someday, I'll go after what I really want. Someday when the kids are older. Someday when I have a little more money saved. Someday when I'm not so tired. This someday is a fog. It's a thick, warm mist that rolls in and softens the sharp edges of our reality. It makes the future feel warm and possible, like a distant shore you can see from the deck of a ship. It feels good to look at it. It feels good to dream about it. And it requires absolutely nothing of you today. For a while, this is a nice place to visit. It's a comfort when the present is hard. But here's the hard truth. We must be gentle with ourselves in realizing it is a terrible, terrible place to live. In fact, it is not living at all. It is waiting. It is a form of slow, self-imposed paralysis. You see, the human mind is a magnificent instrument. It is the most powerful creative force in the known universe. But it requires one thing above all others to function at its highest level: clarity. It craves a fixed point on the horizon. It needs a target. It's like a powerful telescope. A telescope is an incredible tool, capable of bringing distant stars into sharp focus. But if you never lock it onto a single star, if you just let it wobble and drift, all you see is a blur. You see nothing of value. When we live in the fog of indecision, we are doing the same thing with our minds. We are giving our subconscious a command, whether we know it or not. The command is hold, wait, suspend all energy, do not commit, keep all options open. And the mind, being the faithful, obedient servant that it is, listens. It follows that order to the letter. It keeps all your vital force, all your creative energy, all your power in a state of suspension. It puts everything in a waiting room, and it locks the door. Think of a captain on a ship. This is the most important analogy you will hear tonight, so let it sink in. Imagine a captain standing on the bridge of a great vessel. The ship is powerful. The engines are ready. The crew is capable. But the captain has not chosen a destination. He has not decided which port to sail to. He looks at the maps. He thinks about the possibilities, but he cannot make up his mind. New York sounds nice, he says, but perhaps London would be better. Or maybe we should head south toward the warm waters. I'm just not sure yet. Let's wait and see. Now, what happens to that ship? Does it simply stay in the harbor, safe and sound? No. The harbor master will eventually ask it to leave. It will be pushed out into the open sea, and once it's out there, with no hand on the wheel and no destination on the compass, it drifts. It becomes a victim of every current. It is pushed by every wind. It is tossed by every wave. It goes where the ocean wants it to go, not where the captain intended. It might end up on the rocks. It might be lost at sea. It might circle the same patch of water for years. It has become the slave of circumstance, not the master of its own journey. This is the life of the average person. This is the hidden problem that most people never notice. They are not bad people. They are not stupid or lazy. They are simply undecided. They are waiting for the wind to be perfect. They are waiting for the sea to be completely calm. They are waiting for a sign, a divine signal, to tell them which way to go. And they wait, and they wait, and the years pass. The currents of life, other people's demands, societal expectations, economic shifts push them this way and that. They have good intentions. They have dreams, but they have no rudder. They drift into jobs they don't love. They drift into relationships that don't fulfill them. They drift through their days, wondering why they feel so tired, so uninspired, so average. They look at others who seem to have purpose and power, and they think, they must be lucky. They must have connections I don't have. But that's not the truth. The truth is quieter and more uncomfortable. The truth is, those people simply decided. They locked onto a star. This is the quiet tragedy of the open mind that never closes on a target. It's not a lack of talent. It's not a lack of opportunity. The world is overflowing with opportunity. It is the paralysis of a will that refuses to become definite. Most people never notice this about themselves. They blame their circumstances. They blame their upbringing. They blame the government, the economy, their boss, their spouse. But deep down, in the quiet of the night when the distractions are gone and they are alone with their own thoughts, they know the truth. They have never truly, finally, irrevocably decided what they want. And because they have never decided, the world has decided for them. They have surrendered the tiller, and they are simply hoping the current will be kind. But hope is not a strategy, and a ship that hopes for a safe journey without ever choosing a destination is a ship that is already lost. The first step out of this fog is not to find the perfect destination. It is simply to decide to choose one. It is to understand that a mediocre plan pursued with definiteness is infinitely more powerful than a brilliant plan that is merely a wish. The fog does not lift on its own. You must light a fire within yourself that burns it away. And that fire is lit by a single, simple act, the act of making up your mind. Now, if indecision is the fog that keeps us drifting, there is a trap that lies even deeper within it. It's a subtle trap, a deceptive one, because it wears the mask of a virtue. It speaks to us in a voice that sounds reasonable, humble, even noble. This trap is the mindset of trying. Think about your own life for a moment. Think about how many times you have used this word, how many times you have said it to yourself or to others. I'm going to try to lose weight. I'll try to start that business. I'll try to be more patient. I'll try to write that book. It rolls off the tongue so easily. It feels comfortable. It feels safe. And that feeling of safety right there is the first warning sign. We are taught from a very young age that trying is a good thing. It is the cornerstone of our educational systems and our parenting. Just try your best. Give it a try. You might like it. As long as you tried, that's what matters. On the surface, this is beautiful. It encourages effort. It softens the blow of failure. It protects the tender hearts of children from the harshness of disappointment. But here is the uncomfortable truth we must face as adults. What works for a child, what protects them, can become a prison for the grown man or woman. In the world of deep, lasting achievement, trying is not a virtue. It is a poison. It is the most socially acceptable form of self-sabotage. It is an escape hatch for the soul. Listen closely to this distinction, because it is where everything changes. When you say you are going to try to do something, you are not making a commitment. You are making a statement of intent that is conditional. It is a promise with a pre-written excuse attached. You are saying, I will put forth some effort in the direction of my goal, but I am not responsible for the outcome. If it gets too hard, if it becomes uncomfortable, if it requires more of me than I anticipated, I have a built-in exit strategy. Napoleon Hill, in his years of studying the most successful minds of his generation, men like Andrew Carnegie, Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, discovered a hard and fast law. There is a vast, unbridgeable chasm between having a keen interest in something and making a definite decision to achieve it. Interest is a feeling. Decision is an act of will. Interest says, that would be nice. Decision says, this shall be, or I will die trying. And notice, even in that phrasing, the word trying takes on a different meaning. It's not a tentative attempt. It's a declaration of war on impossibility. When you approach your life with a try it and see attitude, you are keeping one foot on the dock and one foot on the boat. You want to go on the journey, but you don't want to risk falling in the water. You want the treasure, but you're not willing to sail beyond the sight of land. And so you bob there at the edge of the harbor, making no real progress, while the great ships sail past you toward the horizon. This mindset keeps you safe. That is its only function. It protects your ego. It is a shield against the pain of failure. If you try and fail, you can always tell yourself, well, it wasn't meant to be. I gave it a shot. At least I tried. And your ego remains intact. You can hold your head up. You can feel like you made an effort. But deep down, in the quiet place where you know yourself truly, you also know that you never really committed. You never really risked anything. You never really put your whole self on the line. The great achievers of history did not try to change the world. They did not try to build their empires. They decided to. And in that decision, they burned the bridges behind them. They made retreat impossible. When William the Conqueror invaded England, the story goes that he landed his ships and then ordered them burned. As the smoke rose into the sky, he turned to his men and said, "You see our ships burning? That means we cannot go back. We either win or we die." That is the psychology of decision. That is the opposite of trying. Imagine striking a match. This is a simple image, but hold it in your mind. If you just try to strike it, if you hold it lightly and barely touch it to the box, what happens? Nothing. You get no spark, no heat, no light. The phosphorus just sits there, inactive. It is only when you press down with conviction, when you commit the full force of your hand to the motion, that the friction creates the flame. Your life is exactly the same. When you approach your dreams with a tentative try-it-and-see attitude, you generate no heat. There is not enough friction with the world to create a spark. The resistance of life just pushes you back and you stay exactly where you are. But when you decide, when you press your will against the circumstances with absolute burning finality, that is when the spark flies. That is when the light comes on. And once that light is on, you can see where you're going. You can see the obstacles. You can see the path. This is the mental trap that keeps people average. They are playing a game of what if, while the world is playing for keeps. They are dabbling in the shallows, splashing around, feeling the water, while the great treasures lie in the deep, and they will stay there, in the shallows, for their entire lives, unless they make the one decision that changes everything. The decision to stop trying and to start doing, the decision to stop being an interested observer of your own life and to become the committed, definite, unstoppable author of it. Think about it. When was the last time you truly stopped trying and simply decided? So, we arrive at the heart of the matter. We have seen the fog of indecision, where most people drift through life without a rudder. We have felt the weight of the try-it mindset, that subtle prison that keeps us safe but small. And now we must ask the question that changes everything. What is this decision? What does it actually feel like to make it? If it's not just picking a goal from a list, and it's not just trying harder with a clenched fist, then what is it? This is where the wisdom of Napoleon Hill's philosophy ceases to be a theory and becomes a key that can unlock the door you've been standing in front of for years. He gave it a name. He called it a definite chief aim. But those are just words on a page. They are containers. What matters is what you pour into them. What matters is the living, breathing experience of what happens inside a human being when they finally, absolutely, irrevocably decide. Let's strip away the jargon and feel this. A definite decision is a moment of mental alchemy. Alchemy is the ancient art of transformation, the attempt to turn lead into gold. And that is precisely what happens when you make a real decision. You take the lead of the vague thought, the lead of a wisp of a dream, the lead of a secret desire you've been carrying in your chest for years, and you burn it into gold with the white-hot heat of your focused will. You transmute it from a thought into a thing. You give it weight. You give it substance. You give it life. It is the moment when you look at the universe not with pleading eyes, not with hopeful hesitation, but with the quiet authority of a creator. And you say, not I wish, not I hope, not I'll try, but simply, I am. This is what I am about. This is what I will become. These are not just words. They are a vibration. They are a frequency. And when you strike that frequency with absolute conviction, the universe is compelled to listen. When you make a decision of this caliber, something profound happens inside your own mind. It is an immediate internal revolution. You are no longer a passive creature of circumstance, blown about by the winds of other people's opinions and the waves of daily events. You become an active force. You shift from being an effect to being a cause. Your mind, which was scattered and drifting like light from a bare bulb, suddenly focuses. It becomes a laser, and where that laser lands, things begin to burn. Obstacles burn away, doubts burn away, the fog of confusion burns away, and you can finally see. Think about a compass. A compass needle is useless if it just spins in circles. It points north for a moment, then west, then east, then south. It gives no direction. It provides no guidance. It is just a spinning piece of metal. But the moment that needle settles, the moment it locks onto true north, everything changes. Suddenly, you know which way to go. You can orient your entire map. You can take a step, and then another, and you know you're moving in the right direction. Your mind is that compass. For most people, it spins constantly. It is pulled this way by a new idea, that way by a fear, another way by what the neighbors will think. It never settles. But a definite decision is the act of letting the needle find its north. You choose your destination. You lock your mind onto it. And from that moment forward, every step you take has meaning. Every choice becomes clearer. You have a standard by which to measure everything. Does this opportunity take me toward my north or away from it? The answer becomes obvious. This is the internal alchemy. But there is an external alchemy as well. And this is where the philosophy of Napoleon Hill becomes almost magical, though it is simply natural law operating at a higher level. When you are undecided, you send out a weak, garbled, contradictory signal into the world. You are broadcasting static, and the world, being what it is, cannot respond to static. It can only respond to a clear signal. But when you make a definite decision, your signal becomes powerful, focused, and clear. You broadcast your intention into the vastness of life, and the vastness begins to arrange itself to meet you. It has no choice. This is not wishful thinking. This is not positive affirmation nonsense. This is a law as reliable as gravity. When you throw a stone into the air, it must come down. When you plant an acorn in the ground, it must, if conditions are right, become an oak. And when you plant a burning, definite desire in the fertile soil of your subconscious mind, it absolutely must begin to attract the circumstances, the people, the ideas, and the opportunities needed for its fulfillment. Napoleon Hill called the source of this response the infinite intelligence. Others have called it God, the universe, the collective unconscious. The name doesn't matter. What matters is the experience. What matters is that every great achiever, every person who has ever left their mark on this world has tapped into this force. They didn't do it by wishing. They did it by deciding. They reached a point of such intense, focused desire that they created a vacuum in their own mind. And nature, as they say, abhors a vacuum. Life rushed in to fill it. Think about the men Hill studied. Andrew Carnegie did not try to build a steel empire. He decided to. Henry Ford did not try to revolutionize transportation. He decided to. And in the moment of that decision, they cut the cord to the shore. They set sail. They didn't know exactly how it would all happen. They couldn't see the path from beginning to end. But they didn't need to. They only needed to see the first step, and then the next. The path revealed itself as they walked it, because their decision had activated a guiding force within them. Most people never experience this power. They live their entire lives on the surface of their own potential because they never make a decision they can't take back. They always leave a little thread dangling, a little escape route, a little back door. If this doesn't work out, I can always. That little phrase, I can always, is the anchor that keeps you in the harbor. It feels like wisdom. It feels like prudence. but it is the enemy of greatness. The power comes when you cut the thread, when you burn the boats, when you look at the horizon and you say, there is no going back. There is only forward. This or nothing. This or death. That sounds dramatic, doesn't it? But look at your own life. The things you have achieved, that you are most proud of, the moments when you truly grew, did they come from a place of safe, tentative exploration? Or did they come from a moment when you had no choice but to rise to the occasion? This is the alchemy. This is the transformation. It is the moment you stop being a passenger on the ship of your life and you take the wheel. It is the moment you stop asking the world for permission and you grant it to yourself. And once you have done that, once you have made that one decision, you are ready to begin the journey. You are ready to think and act and live like the achievers do. Now we must ask a question that takes us beneath the surface. We have talked about the decision itself. We have explored the alchemy that happens when a human being finally locks their mind onto a definite purpose. But how does this actually look in the daily life of a person? How does the mind of the achiever operate differently from the mind of the average person? What is happening inside them while the rest of the world is busy worrying, complaining, and waiting for their ship to come in? Let us sit with this quietly, because the answer is not what you might expect. It is not that they are smarter. It is not that they have more talent or better connections. The world is full of talented people who never amount to anything. It is full of brilliant minds that live in quiet desperation. No, the difference is something far more subtle. It is something deeply internal. It is their relationship with the one thing that stops everyone else: doubt. For the average person, doubt is a stop sign. It is a red light. It is an instruction to halt. Doubt appears on the road ahead, and the average mind slams on the brakes. It says, "This is too hard. You might fail. You don't have what it takes. Turn back. Take the safe road. Don't risk it." And the average person, having never trained their mind to do otherwise, obeys. They turn the car around. They go back to the familiar streets. They convince themselves they made a wise choice. But deep down, they know they simply surrendered. The achiever hears the same voice. This is crucial to understand. The achiever is not immune to doubt. They are not some superhuman creature who walks through life without fear. They feel the same trembling in the stomach. They hear the same whispers in the quiet hours of the night. The voice of doubt is universal. It speaks to every human being who has ever dared to want something more. The difference is not in the presence of the voice. The difference is in what they do when they hear it. For the achiever, doubt is simply a sound. It is noise in the background. It is like the hum of a refrigerator or the distant sound of traffic outside a window. It is there, yes, it exists. But they do not take orders from it. They do not give it the remote control to their actions. They have learned, through the power of a definite decision, to hear the doubt and simply let it be. They acknowledge it. They might even say to it, "I hear you. Thank you for your concern, but I have already decided." Why can they do this? What gives them this power that others lack? It is because they have already made the decision, and a real decision, a definite decision, a decision made with the full force of a focused mind, is a fortress. It is a stronghold that cannot be breached by the whispers of fear. Doubt can walk right up to the walls. It can bang on the gates. It can shout over the ramparts. It can circle outside all day and all night. But it cannot enter. Inside the fortress, there is only one thing: the quiet, steady, unwavering work of moving forward. Listen carefully to this part, because it contains a key that can unlock years of frustration. The achiever's mind is not focused on the how. This is where most people get stuck forever. They spend all their energy, all their mental bandwidth, obsessing over the how. How will I do this? How will I get the money? How will I find the time? How will I overcome that obstacle? How will I convince them? How? And because they cannot see the how from where they stand, because the path disappears into the mist after the first few steps, they conclude that it is impossible. They say to themselves, "I want to go there, but I can't see a road that leads all the way. Therefore, I cannot go." They let the unseen how become a wall that blocks the what. The achiever thinks in reverse. They do not start with the how. They start with the what and the why. They fix their mind on the end result with such burning intensity, such unwavering focus, that the how is forced to reveal itself. They understand a profound truth. The how is not a prerequisite for the journey. The how is a discovery you make along the way. It is the path that appears beneath your feet as you walk, not the map you must possess before you take the first step. Think about walking through a dark forest at night. If you stand at the edge and try to see the entire path to the other side, you will never move. It is too dark. You cannot see the obstacles. You cannot see the turns. You cannot see the obstacles. But if you have a lantern, and if you have a burning desire to reach the other side, you do not need to see the whole path. You only need to see the next step. You lift the lantern, you see the ground right in front of you, and you take one step, then you lift the lantern again, you see the next piece of ground, and you take another step. Step by step, the path reveals itself, and eventually, you emerge on the other side. The how is the lantern, and the lantern is lit by the intensity of your decision. The brighter your desire, the more focused your purpose, the farther the lantern shines. You will see the steps you need to see when you need to see them, not before. And that is enough. This is the fundamental difference between pushing and pulling. The average person spends their life pushing against the world. They are trying to force their way through obstacles. They are pushing a rope and wondering why it won't go straight. It is exhausting. It is demoralizing. It feels like everything is against them, and they are right, because when you push, the world pushes back. But the achiever is not pushing. They are pulling. How do you pull? You fix your mind on the future. You fix your heart on the desire. You see it, you feel it, you taste it. You become it in your imagination before it exists in reality. And that vision, that burning, definite vision, becomes a magnet. It pulls you forward. It pulls you through the difficulties. It pulls you past the doubts. It pulls you over the obstacles. You are not fighting the world. You are being drawn by your future. Napoleon Hill called this tapping into the infinite intelligence. It is a term that can sound abstract or religious, but it describes a very real, very practical phenomenon. It is what happens when your personal, finite mind stops thrashing around in worry and confusion, and instead settles into a state of calm, focused belief. When you achieve that state, you open a channel. You connect with something larger than yourself, a source of wisdom, inspiration, and creativity that is always available, but usually blocked by the static of your own doubts. Have you ever experienced this? Have you ever had a problem you couldn't solve, and then, while taking a shower or going for a walk, the answer just appeared in your mind, fully formed? Have you ever desperately needed to meet someone, and then unexpectedly they showed up? Have you ever had an idea come to you in a dream that solved a challenge you had been wrestling with for weeks? That is the infinite intelligence at work. That is the channel opening, and it opens naturally, automatically, when your mind is made up. When you are decided, you become receptive. When you are receptive, you receive. This is how the achiever lives, not in a state of frantic striving, but in a state of calm alignment. They are not perfect. They have bad days. They feel fear. They encounter setbacks that would crush a lesser spirit, but they do not break because they are anchored to their decision. They are pulled by their vision, and they have learned to trust that the how will come, because it always has. They have built a life on the quiet confidence that comes from knowing that a mind made up is the most powerful force in the universe. And so, after all of this, after walking through the fog of indecision, after feeling the weight of the try-it mindset, after witnessing the alchemy of a definite decision and seeing how the achiever's mind operates, we arrive at the final piece. We arrive at the destination of this inner journey. It is not a place of loud triumph or dramatic victory. It is something far more subtle, far more lasting, and far more valuable. It is the quiet awakening. The moment you make this one decision, the decision to define your purpose and pursue it with every fiber of your being, something inside you shifts. It is not a violent shift. It is not like an earthquake. It is more like the moment a long fever breaks. You have been hot and restless for so long, tossing and turning, unable to find comfort. And then, suddenly, peacefully, the heat subsides. Your body relaxes. Your mind clears. You can finally rest. This is what happens to your soul when you decide. The frantic search for meaning, the desperate need for validation from others, the endless comparisons with people who seem to have found their way, all of this begins to fade. Not because your external problems have vanished. They haven't. The obstacles are still there. The challenges are still real. The world is still the same difficult, unpredictable place it was before. But you are no longer the same person facing them. You have changed. And because you have changed, everything else begins to change in relation to you. Think about a radio. When a radio is not tuned to any particular station, all you hear is static. It is noise. It is uncomfortable. It is frustrating. You keep turning the dial, hoping to find something clear, something meaningful. But you only get fragments of music, snippets of voices, and then more static. This is the inner life of the undecided person. They are constantly searching, constantly constantly tuning, constantly hoping the next station will be the one. But they never settle. They never lock on. The definite decision is the act of locking on. You turn the dial, you find the frequency that resonates with your deepest self, and you stop. You hold it there. And suddenly, the static clears. The music comes through, rich and full. The voice becomes clear and understandable. There is no more searching. There is only listening. There is only receiving. There is only the deep, satisfying experience of being exactly where you are supposed to be, doing exactly what you are supposed to do. This is the richness that cannot be measured in dollars. This is the peace that cannot be bought with any amount of money. It is the feeling of knowing who you are and what you are about. It is the quiet confidence that comes from having a compass that always points true north. And from this state of inner wealth, outer wealth becomes almost inevitable. It becomes a natural byproduct, not a desperate pursuit. Why is this? Why does inner alignment so often lead to outer abundance? Because when you are no longer searching, when you are no longer desperate, when you are no longer trying to prove something to the world, you can finally do the work that is yours to do. And you can do it with a quality of presence, a depth of focus, a purity of intention that is impossible for the person who is still lost in the fog. You are no longer working for money. This is the great secret. The average person works for money, and because they work for money, they never get enough of it. It is like chasing a horizon. It always recedes. But the awakened person, the person who has made the decision, is no longer working for money. They are no longer working for approval. They are no longer working to impress anyone or to prove anything. They are working for the sheer joy of expressing who they have decided to become. They are working because the work itself is the reward. They are working because to not work, to not create, to not contribute would be a betrayal of their own soul. And when you work from that place, your work has power. It has presence. It has soul. It carries a frequency that other people can feel. They may not be able to name it, but they sense it. They are drawn to it. They trust it. They want to be part of it. And the world, in its mysterious way, will always, always pay a premium for soul. It will pay for authenticity. It will pay for the work of a person who has found their center and is operating from that center with no apology and no hesitation. This is not a promise of instant millions. This is not a get-rich-quick formula. This is something far deeper and far more reliable. It is a law of nature. When you align yourself with your purpose, when you become a conduit for the expression of your unique gifts, you become valuable. And value in any economy, in any time, in any circumstance, will always find its reward. It may come as money. It may come as influence. It may come as love. It may come as a deep and abiding sense of fulfillment that makes all other rewards seem secondary. But it will come. It must come, because you have stopped fighting the current and started flowing with the river. The decision, you see, was never really about getting rich. That was just the bait. That was just the surface. The decision was always about becoming the person who cannot help but attract richness in all its forms. It was about becoming the kind of person who radiates purpose, who embodies integrity, who walks through the world with the quiet authority of someone who knows where they are going. And when you become that person, richness naturally flows toward you. It flows as opportunity. It flows as connection. It flows as ideas. It flows as money. It flows as peace. It flows as love. It is like lighting a fire within yourself that the winds of circumstance cannot extinguish. The winds may blow. The rains may come. The storms may rage. But the fire, once lit by a definite decision, burns on. It may flicker. It may seem small at times, but it never goes out. And in the darkest nights, it is enough. It is more than enough. It is everything. So, as you sit here in the quiet of this moment, as the words settle into the silence, I invite you to ask yourself a question. It is not a question about what job you should take, or what business you should start, or what strategy you should employ. Those questions are for another time. This is a deeper question, a more important question. A question that, if you answer it honestly, will change everything. What is the one thing you would pursue if you knew you could not fail? And by that, I do not mean because you have a guarantee from the outside. I mean because you have decided on the inside that failure is simply not an option. What is the one decision you have been avoiding? The one that scares you, not because it is dangerous, but because you know it would require all of you. It would require your full attention, your full heart, your full presence. It would ask you to stop hiding, stop waiting, stop hoping, and simply become. That is your crossroads. That is your moment. It has always been your moment. The fog will not lift on its own. The doubt will not vanish by magic. The path will not appear until you take the first step. But the step is small. It is simple. It is the step of deciding. You can stay in the fog of indecision, waiting for a sign that will never come, waiting for conditions that will never be perfect, waiting for permission that no one can give you. You can spend your life in the harbor safe and dry, watching the great ships sail past, or you can make the choice. You can speak the words to yourself, quietly, firmly, right now, in the privacy of your own heart. This is what I am. This is what I will do. This is the direction I will walk, for as long as it takes, until I arrive or until I die trying. And this time the word trying means something different. It means not giving up. It means burning the boats. It means going forward with no thought of retreat. There is no force in the universe that can stop a person with a made-up mind. No obstacle is large enough. No person is powerful enough. No circumstance is difficult enough. The only force that can stop you is the one between your own ears. And once you have decided, even that force becomes your ally. It stops fighting you and starts working for you. The only question that remains, the only question that has ever mattered, is simple. Have you made up yours? Not partially, not temporarily, not with one foot on the dock, but fully, finally, irrevocably. Had we decided? A long, slow, profound silence, allowing the question to land and resonate in the deepest part of the listener's being. Thank you for sharing this time with me. Thank you for sitting in the quiet and giving yourself permission to think about these things. Most people never do. They are too busy, too distracted, too afraid of what they might find. But you stayed. You listened. And that tells me something about you. It tells me the decision is closer than you think. Go in peace. Sleep well, and may your decisions be your own. May your purpose be clear, and may the fire you light tonight burn brightly enough to guide you home.